Hey guys, thanks for coming back and checking out part 2 of the Eclipsing Valkyrie build. Now we just have to take the template that I made last time and cut it up and get it ready for the next step. For curves with tighter corners, I like to use a small X-Acto blade with a really small tip. This will help reduce any unevenness around your edges.
And there we have it, our ready to use template and inner layer all in one. And as you can see, it fits my hand this way and holds nicely. Once we get it all glued together, I think I'm going to take the Dremel and widen this out just a little bit because it's kind of snug on my finger right here. But for now, we can move on to the other pieces. So I already have these pre-cut. We're just going to lay it out and trace it for the next layer out. Except on the next layer, we're going to cut the entire trigger guard out, leaving just this piece so that the trigger is still there and it's all attached so it won't flop or break.
Since we didn't cut out the entire trigger guard, I'm just having to freehand a little bit to get the rest of the opening.
Okay, now we have 2 extra pieces cut, and you can see the trigger is recessed in and it holds pretty well. So now we're going to put these aside for the outermost pieces. And moving on to the inner layer for the design, I wanted the barrel pieces to actually be kind of recessed in, so we're going to end up cutting out part of this here to create a flat spot for the barrels to sit. I also wanted this to be a little bit recessed in as well, so we're going to cut this out, then cut a little bit extra off and fiddle with that. We're going to take this piece, once we cut it out, and trace it onto the other parts we just cut. And when we glue it together, we're going to glue this piece back in. It's just going to be a little bit shorter, and you'll see why when we get there.
This is where having a speed square or a carpenter's T-square would come in handy to get a 90-degree angle to create the back pocket for the barrel ends.
Okay, so now we have front end cutouts. We have this piece cut out. So for the outer piece, we can trace this and cut it out. And then for the inner piece, we can trace the whole thing, except leave this hollow. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the barrel pieces, and we're going to kind of recess them in like this. We're going to cut this one a little bit shorter, and then I'm going to take and make something like this, and make like a little cap piece, a little rounded over cap piece for right here. Alright, for the inner two layers, this is going to be our template. We're going to leave this in place. So see how it's got a recess here? And we're going to leave this recess. If you want, you could even glue this back in place so that it doesn't move. Okay, so we have all of our pieces cut, every layer. We have it to where it has a little bit of a recess here, which we're going to add some extra detail in a little bit. And I was thinking, since this is so thick here with all 5 layers, it comes out to where I can barely get my hand around it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this so that it comes off. I'm going to take this piece and trace it over the top, cutting this part off the outer layer, which will remove the extra added thickness, leaving it where my hand can wrap all the way around, versus this. So it'll also create a little extra character where this is raised out, and it'll look a lot better. So let's get started on that. Also, this is why it's a good idea to have an actual template that you can cut up versus cutting it and then gluing it back together by using the foam as a template. But we're just kind of winging it like I said, so I'm just going to make do. Alright, so now we have all our pieces. We have our outer pieces that are cut small. But we still need to add this back in, but when we glue it together we can just pop it back in. So let's see how it fits together. Alright, so as you can see, we have this section recessed, and now this is smaller, so your hand will actually fit around. We're going to curve the edges so it's more comfortable, But for now, you can see that the trigger is reachable and it won't actually break off because it's one solid piece. Right, so we're going to start gluing the middle pieces together. Get out our glue pot with our barge and go and get started. It's a good idea to hold on to a little bits of foam because it works really well to spread nice even layers of your contact adhesive.
Here I'm just lining it up along the top edge, carefully putting it together. It's always a good idea to spread it thin so that it has a nice even coverage with no lumps in it, so when you put the parts down there's no uneven spots.
Alright, since we spread it thin, it dried pretty quickly. So again, on this one, we're going to do the outer edge like that, and then just kind of lay it down and make sure that the handle goes together nicely. And the inner layers will be done. Now to avoid having it look like crap when you glue it together, so that you don't get it in here and in this section, one thing you could do is take some masking tape, trace along here, and then just tape the edges off. But I don't feel like doing that, so I'm just going to trace it and just try to be careful. Okay, so we have the outside piece glued on one side, and before we glue the other side, I wanted to make a couple little pieces to hold these in, so that way when we glue them in, it'll just slip right in and it'll hold it from wobbling around. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of our scrap foam that we cut off, and I'm just going to make a couple pieces like that to go on each side. I'm just going to make it just to cut it off right here, and just do like that. Now when freehanding it, it's always better to cut a little less than you need. So that way you can go back and trim it exact. Because if you cut off too much, you need to make a whole new piece. Alright, so we have the pieces glued in. I got it marked so I can not glue excessively around it. And glue it in, and our main part of our space gun will be assembled.
Welcome to Pandora, minion.
Okay, so we have all the layers of our space gun assembled. Each layer is glued in, including the extra support pieces for our PVC for our barrel pieces. Come back next time where I'm going to sand these seam lines smooth, round the edges, and get down to the other half of what I wanted to show you guys, which is the grip texture, or knurling as it's called. And either I'm going to do a strip here or one that wraps around the front and then another one that wraps around the back. I'm going to round these edges over here and then do 3 strips rounding over like that, also with the knurling grip texture.
Hey, thanks for checking this video out. If you liked it, go check out the other videos I have posted. Also subscribe for the new videos coming out. If you want to follow along to any of the current build projects, you can check out Space City Props on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And get out there and go build something.